Although it makes me feel kind of uneasy since we're talking about a human being, the first step is to corner Misha. The situation is a little too much like something out of a cop drama for me. It's come to this because talking to her normally is proving to be near impossible. But we do have classes together, even the very first class of the day. Although it takes a while for the announcement to come, the second that I hear we're going to be working in groups today, Shizune and I try to make sure Misha's on ours. You know, I think Muto assigns a suspiciously large amount of group work and self-study. Don't you think so? Well, it's easy, so it's okay, right? Yeah, there's other stuff that I've been thinking about lately that might not be okay, though. Misha nods after each sentence, then brushes it all aside. I thought about it, and I don't do enough work when I'm with you and Shi-chan, so I'm gonna try harder today. So, don't distract me, Hi-chan. I have to stay focused. That was an annoyingly transparent dodge. Shizune doesn't look too happy about it either, since Misha didn't bother to sign any of it, opting to twirl a pen in her hands instead. From the shaky way she was doing it, I'm sure it was so she wouldn't sign anything inadvertently. From the way Misha looks distracted and uneasy, I doubt it's because she wants to keep Shizune out of the loop for any malicious reason, although it's still obviously a way of distancing Shizune from herself. Shizune wants to talk to you. Can't it wait until later, Hi-chan? No. Why not now? We're in the middle of class. Now she's spinning a pen in each hand. I'm beginning to think her signing has turned into a kind of nervous tic for her. This isn't a good replacement, although the sight of her dual wielding is pretty impressive. After class, then. After class, I don't waste a second bringing it back up. As everyone else flies out of the classroom, leaving the three of us alone, Misha takes increasingly longer glances in every direction except forward. Want to get something to eat? Why do you and Shi-chan keep asking me if I want something to eat? Yeah, Shi-chan. Because we're all headed to the cafeteria and we haven't eaten together in a long time, so why not? Is this about the student council? Taking Shizune's lack of reply as admission, Misha sighs. Shi-chan, is that all you ever think about? Before Shi-chan can reply, she leaves. I have to say, I'm not left feeling very confident after what just happened. Neither of us were expecting it to go smoothly, but it would have been nice. Reading my mind, Shizune curls a finger around her glasses for a while before signing. I know what you're thinking, but no. It's not that I think we should give her some space now. I told you. I won't give up so easily. Yeah, well, now I'm starting to wonder if it's not too soon. Cold feet? Well, I'm not going to. That would be giving up on her. There's a fine line between helping someone and smothering them, but I just want Misha to pull herself together and stop acting so weird. I know she can do it. Even if she wants to try, people don't change overnight. If they could, the world would be a much easier place. Boy, howdy, wouldn't that be the case? Okay, you win. Then I guess this is the part where we split up and look for her. Though I'm the only one who's really supposed to find her. If I run into her first, I'll call your cell phone. Smiling, Shizune takes out her cell phone, turning it on to repair. I notice that she has an extremely high number of unread messages, and looking at her expression, so does she. Twirling it around by the strap a couple of times, she grimaces. I don't like using this thing. Why can't I just snap my fingers? And then what? I'm not a dog, and it doesn't travel as far as phone signal. You're having a lot of fun with us, aren't you? Shaking her head from side to side, she continues. It's obvious where she'll go. You can't look for her on the school grounds. She would want to go as far away as she can. Check the tea shop? It's usually empty this early. Misha loves to go there if she feels like skipping class, and she loves the parfaits they have there. You really know a lot about her, but she would overthink it and turn it into something that would seem a lot more backhanded than it actually is. So I choose to just nod and leave instead until I feel her holding onto my sleeve. What? I say instinctively, forgetting that she can't hear me. It feels nice that I don't have to do it all by myself anymore, because I can trust you. I'm really happy. It makes me happy to hear it. I can't think of a way to respond and end up only nodding again. I see you over there! Heading outside, I catch a glimpse of pink hair behind some other girl's head, and as I head that way, I realize that it isn't the way you go if you want to leave school. It's the way to the student council room. If I wanted to avoid Shizune, I wouldn't head there. It's strange that Misha would be going in that direction then. Maybe she wants to talk things over with Shizune? In which case, I have to wonder if letting things play out naturally would be such a bad idea after all, especially if it seems to be going in a good direction. Suddenly, Misha stops and spins around, catching me by surprise. Surprise, Hi-chan! Were you looking for me? I had a feeling. I was gonna say, hey, I was just looking for you, but I suppose that's no good now. She isn't even finished with her sentence before she blows past me, heading for the exit. I have to admit that Misha is infuriatingly sharper than I'd expected. Also surprisingly fast. Although it's more physical activity than I should be getting, I managed to catch up with her halfway to the gate. You're really being the rudest woman in the world right now. Can you just stop trying to run away for 1 second? I want to talk to you. Misha turns on her heel, looking mildly amused, and raised her hands as if to tell me to go on. Now that I've got her attention, though, it's hard to think of the right thing to say. Where are you going now? To Shanghai. Can I go with you, then? Waiting for her to answer feels like an eternity. It's almost as if I can hear my wristwatch ticking off the individual seconds. Okay, then, Hee-chan. I guess in the sense that she only agreed because she doesn't want to argue anymore today. Works for me. When we get there, a couple comes in after us, causing Misha to jump slightly at the noise. Seeing that it isn't Shizune, she relaxes again, smiling almost as usual to order a parfait from Yuko, and sliding into the nearest booth. You ran off too fast. You could have at least waited to see what she was going to say. Misha's angry reaction tells me it could be that she was afraid of what Shizune might say. Why are you both doing this, Hee-chan? Because Shizune still wants to be your friend. I guess that's for her. It's kind of like launching a nuclear missile from a submarine. You need 2 keys to do it. What else can she do, though? She isn't automatically signing whatever she hears or says anymore, and I'm sure that is the reason Shizune has been having so much trouble with her. If she tried to just talk it over, you wouldn't listen. Misha's guilty expression tells me I've hit the mark. Do you really hate Shizune that much? No, Hee-chan, I told you that. She answers without even flinching, idly playing with a spoon. Yeah, I know. I'm sure she knows it too, but I wonder if it might be easier if you did. The only thing she'd really thought about for the last week is how to make you happy, since Shizune is still attached to you. Yesterday, though, she thought that maybe it would be easiest for you if you just hated her. Since you didn't tell her you hate her, Shizune thinks that you can still both be friends. She's like that, only thinking in extremes. Her parfait is starting to melt, the ingredients coming together in tiny rivers that remind me of the growing roots of a tree being shown through time-lapse photography. That's stupid. Shi-chan isn't that stupid, Hee-chan. Don't be ridiculous. It's got nothing to do with intelligence. Smart people can do stupid things. Anyway, isn't it true? I was terrified last week when we talked, but at the end, I was relieved because it sounded like things might go back to normal. I wasn't expecting you two to have a fight right after. It wasn't a fight, Hee-chan. It was just me yelling at her. I've noticed that Misha's voice never really changes in tone, just volume. It's so low with guilt that I can hardly believe it came from her. Either way, I was happy because I thought you and her could still be friends, since she needs you. No she doesn't, Hee-chan. So, how do you know that? There are a lot of things Shizune doesn't. Vocalize, say, talk about. I'm afraid if I say the wrong thing, it'll ruin the mood. I get to finally have a conversation with her and don't want to screw it up. I wonder if this is the first time she had an honest conversation with me. Just because she didn't tell you doesn't mean she doesn't like you. That doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Otherwise, she would argue back. You don't think so? She picks fights with everyone, so why not you? Obviously because you're her friend and she values you. And Shizune is hurt too. She's just awful at showing her feelings. Usually does it the wrong way too, but she still likes you. Hee-chan, do you remember when I said I didn't want to hate Shi-chan or upset her? The truth is, I ended up doing both. Now it's like there's this, like an awkwardness between us. It's hard to explain. Both of you are so stubborn. You were talking about how you didn't want to drift apart from Shizune, but then you're going to let it happen? And Shizune is just as bad. She wants to be your friend, but respects you too much to be aggressive as she'd be with anyone else. I'm sure that Misha interprets Shizune giving her space as a lack of caring. I screwed up already, Hee-chan. It'll happen again, I'm sure. When I think about it that way, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It feels like either way, I'll end up making things worse. That it might be better if I didn't do anything at all, right? Don't be ridiculous. Why would you even think that way in the first place? Be more positive. It should be easy for you, I want to say, but that would be presumptuous. Hee-chan, I never knew you were so optimistic. I never expected it. That's a bit of a curveball for you, ain't it? You always act so gloomy when I try and surprise you. No, this is a recent thing. Really, I just hate it when people give up easily now. Now, huh? It makes me mad when people give up. I used to think that giving up was kind of like running away, since that's how people always describe it, but now I think about it, it's usually more like throwing something away. When you run away from something, you can think of it as still being there. So I was in the hospital, and I didn't just want to run away from my problems, I wanted to never think about them again. Misha eats a spoonful of her gray ice cream goo. Did she only just remember it was there now, or could it be she likes it that way? Anyway, my point is, you can't do that. People are too sentimental to just throw away their memories out like that. It's impossible. Shizune can't think of life in terms of anything but winning and losing. Don't you think she wishes she didn't have to remember the parts where she loses? You can't pick and choose, though. That's like wanting to live in a bubble. The worst part is, your way of thinking is so wasteful. It's making you so pessimistic, you're afraid of everything. Come on. I grab her hand as I wave Yuko over with the other to pay for our food. Where are we going now? Back to school before lunch is over, but I want to check out a few places before then. Although I start feeling tired even after doing what could be described as on the level of a brisk jog at best, Misha and I eventually make it to the gates of the school with a little over 10 minutes to spare. I didn't even want to really come to this school, you know. I didn't have a choice. When I got to this gate, I'm sure a part of me was thinking, what a depressing place. It doesn't look depressing at all, though. Well, I still thought. I hadn't everything figured out. I felt practically like another person. If I could, I'd go back and tell myself to stop thinking he can't write everything off at a glance and acting like his life is already over, and he can never have fun again. The school grounds are still littered with quite a few people. It's lunchtime, so it's typical. This is where you and Shizune had me helping you put together 2 festivals. What a lot of hard work, I thought. I don't have time for this. When I look back on it, though, I didn't do all that much. I also didn't have anything better to do. I'd have just spent the time alone. I drag her to our homeroom next, which is empty except for Muto trying to eat a sandwich before classes resume. Every time I thought of either of you, I wish you would leave me alone. Whether it was here or leaving Muto to his lunch, we head for the nearby vending machine and I grab a soda while I still have 5 minutes to drink it. I spent an entire lunch period with Misha, longer than both Shizune and I had managed to find to talk to her in days. Following me to the cafeteria or trying to corner me after half my classes. I never realized we only talked like 4 times. It really was all in my head. I only barely realized it now. I remember that, Hee-chan, but I know where all these places are too. Wait, let me finish my guided tour, since we're running out of time. By the way, do you want a soda? Making our way to the stairwell, I'm glad I don't have to pull her by the hand anymore. You get dizzy on stairs, right? Yeah? I guess just here is good enough then. I lean against the wall as Misha sits down on the steps across from me. Do you ever miss the people you went to school with in elementary school? Or middle school? No. That was fast. She didn't even have to think about it. I find myself cringing reflexively. I had more friends in my old school, but I don't talk to them anymore. It almost feels like it was another lifetime ago. Which is sad, really. Sometimes I want to talk to them again, but I know I can't. I'm scared and embarrassed. Things like that. They're too far away for me to go see them. Then I think about calling them, but I don't know most of their numbers. And I left on a sour note, so why would they want to see me again? It feels like I should just forget about it, but I still think about it anyway and regret that I didn't try harder to stay in touch somehow. And I start to think that maybe feeling like I should forget about it is wrong. It'd be an insult to all the people I had fun with and a waste of all the good times. Like I said before, even if there are some bad times too, it's alright if you can look back on them as happy memories. But I didn't even think about it then. So it was like I woke up one day and realized I had no friends. I just let myself lose all my friends, and it felt awful. I'd really hate it if you and Shizune ended up the same way. That's all. That's all. It makes me sad to think that you'll do the same thing and push away your friend, especially because you're not that far away from Shizune. I mean, you even live in the same dorm. Friend, aren't you my friend too, Hee-chan? Yeah. You slept through all of it, but the fireworks were really nice way back at the festival. My first time seeing fireworks like that, and my first time really seeing the sky in a while, and I'd never really looked at the stars before then either. I had thumbed through a book about them while I was in the hospital, though, and I learned a lot. Like, the stars aren't just burning, they're more like a constant chain of explosions, so far away that some of the stars I'd be seeing would have burnt out for thousands of years already. It's that their light would only just be reaching Earth. I saw a mock-up comparing the size of the planet to our sun, and then that to the other suns. Japan wasn't even visible in the tiny Earth in that book. You know what I never realized? She looks at me expectantly. They're amazingly shiny. Yeah, it's true. Why are you doing this, Hee-chan? Doing what? I'm not stupid. I don't know, a bunch of reasons. Because you're Shizune's friend, and I like how close you were. And maybe I'm trying to tell you that we all have our low points, but giving up is stupid. Anyway, it seems worth the trouble. That's the only reason? And you're my friend. That's it? Can't I do something for no reason? You can, but I want to know. What else do you want to hear? The bell rings before Misha can reply, so she ends up laughing instead. I have no idea if what I just did actually helped anything, and it is concerning to say the bare minimum. I see less of Misha in the following days, but I don't worry because when I do see her, she looks a bit more like her old self each time. Once it's clear enough that I don't have to be afraid of it being my wishful thinking coloring my perceptions, I start to relax again. I wake up very early and feeling sick on Sunday. I went to sleep too early last night, too. Something's also wrong with my curtains, and they won't close completely. Because of that, I can't even attempt to go back to sleep. The sun hits me in the eyes every time. I'm sure this is probably why I woke up so early this morning as well. Being this sick and tired is a perfect storm of frustration. I'm almost glad when there's a knock at the door. Oh, delightful. This is exactly what I needed more of in my life. It's a familiar person holding an almost completely eaten apple in his hand. Taking one last bite, he attempts to shoot it into my trash can and misses completely, and it smashes apart on the wall 2 meters too high. To be fair, most of the pieces afterward do manage to fall into the trash can, but I'm pretty sure no one is so brazen that they would be aiming to do something like that on purpose. Perfect shot! What's up, roomie? I'm not your roomie. We don't live in the same room. It doesn't matter. It does. You should at least know the difference between living in the same building and living in the same room. I need to use your room. For what? I messed up. I should have said absolutely not. The student council keeps delivering my mail, even though I asked them to put it in my locker or something. But they keep putting it under my door, delivering my mail without me noticing it, so today, I'm lying in wait to catch them in the act, like a detective or a safari hunter. I need to chill in your room for today and look through the little peephole, or I won't be able to catch them in the act, and maybe tomorrow too. It'll be awesome. We'll get pizza on both days, or should we get pizza on the same day, and something else on the other day? But what? And which day is pizza day? Not today, never. You know I'm in the student council. Why didn't you just ask me about this? If he had, I would have been able to find out very easily and wouldn't have to have Kenji in my room. It's a win-win, except this way he might be able to get a pizza out of me. I start thinking that maybe that was Kenji's intention. But no, I doubt it. There's no way he could plan something that elaborate. You know? When they deliver mail? Well, no. They just hand me my mail when I go to the student council usually. The point is, I could find out by asking them. Then I'd know and I could tell you. That's how people find things out. By asking. Not cavemen. Oh yeah, no response on that, right? Checkmate. Use your own people. Eat your own damn pancakes. What if they see me? They can't. That's how peoples work. It's like a one-way glass. For real? Well, no way. They'd be expecting me to be in my room anyway. They'll sense my presence and know I'm there. They never expect me to actually be in the room across the hall. I'm gonna go to the student council room and get your mail for you right now. And I guess I can't let you leave. That's dumb. What if I have to use the toilet? Your games don't work on me. I sit down on my desk and start doing my homework for the weekend. You know, you're going to have to leave eventually, so you can't stay here forever or keep me from here forever. I mean, this is my room to start with. Yeah, I don't think I can. What time's the mail usually come? Now. Why are women so slow? Why are you so ungodly obnoxious? Why do you care so much about the mail anyway? You expecting something? I'm always expecting something. Not today, though. Do you want them to send something? Do you even send mail? Nope, that's how they get you. I haven't used the mail since I was 8. Sent a letter to Lego asking them to make Dragon Ball Legos. They should be doing that, though. You know what? For all the stupid crap and inane crap and idiotic crap and insane crap that this guy's constantly spewing forth, yeah, that should be a thing. They said they couldn't get the rights to gave me some coupons. Totally worth it, but after that I made sure to stay off the radar. You don't use mail, do you? I wrote to my parents last week. Oh, but that's how they get you! Yes, I should have known. Maybe that's why they put that microchip in me the next day. So, the rumors were true. I'd like to know what rumor mill he got that from. I was kidding. It's a joke. Joke? Damn, you would joke on me. I guess this is, you would joke on me? I guess this is how it feels, to have jokes cracked on. I never thought it'd happen to me. It was a serious issue. And I think you're not appreciating the depths of my dilemma. It's a work in many acts, complicated acts with many players. It's really hard, okay? After I'm done, I'm gonna eat a whole fish to celebrate. Nah, crap, I wanted a pizza though. I still want pizza. Can I get fish on the pizza? Do they do that now? There is a type of fish you can get on pizza, yes. You're gonna be paying for it. You still haven't paid me back, and I'm not hungry right now anyway. Not in the mood for pizza? That's not possible, son. It's gonna be pizza anyway. I'm in the pizza stage of my life. Before I was in an ice cream stage. But my girlfriend kept eating all the strawberry out of my Neapolitan. It'll probably happen to you too. It's hard to tell if he's serious half the time. I can only see his expression when he's not nose deep in my door. And I doubt that. Hey, you know that I do have a girlfriend, right? Not a Wanako either. The student council president, actually. Old news. What? Seriously? I have my sources. Anyway, then it dawned on me that I'd gotten fat from all that ice cream. It was a rude awakening. Like sleeping on a beach and getting hit by a wave that destroys your sandcastle. I started running. Had to lose the pounds, but maybe I was really running away from myself. Oh, dear God. A sudden and continuous knocking causes him to leap backwards far enough to hit the wall on the way behind him. I take the opportunity to walk over and open the door. Good morning. What's up? I hear if you salt the doorway, they can't enter uninvited. I'm not going to put salt in my doorway. But you're considering it. Good. Good morning. You here to deliver the mail? Nodding, Shizune waves a couple of envelopes between our faces. I take them from her, freeing up her hands for conversation. How did you know? How did you know? How did you know? You were hiding it behind your back in a really obvious way. Hiding what? The mail. It's okay. I wasn't trying very hard to hide it in the first place. It's not like you. You're the type of person who'd go anything's worth trying hard. Girls taking initiative? And what about me? I've been using that phrase for years. Where's my parade, dog? I spent literary gold and you women just steal it and wear it out like for 2-for-1 sundress. You're all like the Picard to my Kirk. Or you could even be Janeway. Okay, don't you dare even try that noise, okay? Although I do appreciate that you apparently think Kirk is the best captain. Not all the time. You making fun of me? Finally noticing Kenji, she gives him a wave. Hey Kenji, the student council president says hi. Hi. Introduce me. I have no idea what he's saying, but it looks confident. Oh yes, no one is better at saying that kind of stuff confidently. I already did. I even introduced you by title. This is Kenji. He's the guy across the hall. His room is right behind you. Anyway, do you have his mail too? I'm only delivering your mail because it was there. I have early access. It's all about location. Consider it a perk of being in the student council. Doesn't sound very fair. She takes a lot of liberties with her position. At least they're small ones. It's the first time I've really been able to see your room. It's a blatant lie, or she'd signed it much faster. I'm sure Shizune remembers that it's not the first time. Why does he get to see your room and I can't? Is it a guy thing? It's not a secret club being a guy. It should be, with rings. Rings with big-ass emblems, and gold. Are you sure? Are you really sure? I always thought that there was a secret brotherhood of men. Why is she ignoring me? Let me tell her about the guy club. And what's with the hand signals? Is she trying to hex me or something? No, stay out of this. I'll have to translate anything you say to her, and I'm pretty sure if I can even handle it. And I'm not sure if I could even handle it. And she'll probably misunderstand it, and then you'll probably misunderstand the reply, and I'll have to translate your rebuttal. Rebuttal? Why would I rebut? I like my butt. What's he saying? He says he has no rebuttal. Rebuttal to what? I haven't even begun to challenge him yet. Doesn't look like the way she put that. So it appears that she wants to, but about what? Doesn't matter since it wouldn't end well. Don't pick fights when there are none. I never met your friends. Why can't I? It looks like he's being passionate. I am not friends with that guy. I suppose with the way he's flailing around, it would be stupid to expect Shizune to think otherwise. Anyway, I'd better change the subject. Not that it would be likely to work on her, but I'm sure that she has to come here for a reason other than to just drop my mail off. If it was something that tiny, she wouldn't have even bothered knocking. You didn't come here just to give me my mail or chat up my friends, did you? Shizune snaps her fingers in mock frustration. It's as cringe-inducingly loud as ever. You're right. Let's go somewhere again. Do you have somewhere in mind already? You're right again. Let's go to the usual place. She whips out a bag of neatly wrapped containers from just outside of the doorframe. I'm guessing they're filled with food, and this time it doesn't look store-bought. Setting it down between her feet, she continues. Is that for me? That was a real surprise, see? I have to have something over everyone at the very end. I agree, in the way people normally do when someone makes a statement in front of them that tells more than they meant to tell. Well, fine, if you're both going to ignore me, I'm out of here. So cruel. You'll regret this. No, I won't. Oh, that's really pleasant. I like that. Cute. Not long afterwards, we find ourselves on the school roof. Is it normally deserted at this time? On a nice day like this on the weekend? No, of course not. I can only think it's because of Shizune. Not that clearing out a roof would require anything more than posting a sign on the door. The empty plastic container Shizune had packed our meal in lie next to me. It was another quiet meal, since holding chopsticks prevents us from saying much to each other. While it's not blowing hard enough to be a problem, the wind is a little strong today. It blows the plastic bag loose from under the empty containers, so it whips around for a bit before rolling over my legs and getting caught on the tip of Shizune's shoe. Immediately, she grabs it and starts signing, not looking happy that I'm laughing at her, even though she's trying to not let it out a laugh herself. With the bag in the way, however, she has to continue sit on it to continue. Very funny. How was it? The food? It tasted familiar. That means it was bad. No, I remember eating this exact meal before when you made it. Not exactly the same. The fried shrimp was new. It's the only thing I know how to make, but I should have improved. How many times have you made it before? This is the second time. Making this particular meal? Cooking. Dang, you're actually pretty good at it. Next time it's your turn to try it. That way the way she keeps tugging on the corner of the bag is bothering me. I think I know why she's doing it. Is it really bugging you that much? I want to pack them properly. It's okay, I'll get them. As I'm picking them up, I realized that must have been a lot of food to be able to fill all these containers. I didn't even eat much. Shizune must have had some metabolism in order to pack all that away. Even though I've only been up for a second, it's long enough to stupidly trip over my own feet. Barely managing to break my fall, I end up landing on my elbows and knees right next to Shizune's lap. Okay. As I pull myself back up, hand gingerly held on my chest, all I can think about how is my knees hurt and how this fall could have killed me. I feel nauseous. Shizune gives a helpful push on my shoulder to help me upright, though I notice her eyeing me oddly. Unfortunately, even a light shove is enough to take me by surprise. You okay? I nod, but we don't return to sitting beside each other. Naturally, being alone with Shizune is going to involve a lot of silence, but I only start to notice it now, the typical sign of awkwardness. Again, she's the one to break the ice. I was expecting you to try something dirty. And now the mood is back to awkward. How's Misha? Misha seems happier now, back to her old self. I thought this would be a good way to celebrate and to thank you for helping her. Her hand stumbles for a bit on the last word. You think too much like a businesswoman. I can't help it. That's how I've been taught to do things. It makes me happy that you're asking about Misha. It'd be more accurate to say back to her real self. She'd only be back to her old self. She would only be back to her old self to you. Yeah. The Misha you know is completely different from the one I think of. When I think of the first time we met, even though I think she looks better, cheerful, and smiling, that isn't how she typically is. I wonder if it's true for you too. I don't know an answer. Well, if Misha's happy, then it doesn't matter if it worked out in the end. Your plan worked. You knew her just as well as you said. You knew everything she would say. If your idea was just that I'd speak for you, though, doesn't that just make me your puppet? I didn't do anything then. Not true, it was your idea first. I was wrong. I have a way of saying things that is very flawed. Now that I've thought about it, I'm sure you know. Sometimes I treat everything like a competition between myself and everyone else, even when it doesn't make sense to. Sometimes? I know very well how easy it is to ignore someone if they can only communicate with you through sign. I should have asked for help, but I was so sure I could do it on my own. It was actually a brave thing you did, even if you won't take credit for it. Aside from that, you've really become kind of admirable lately. It's strange having her compliment me while her facial expression hasn't changed in the slightest. But people don't change so easily, according to you, am I right? She winks, clearly enjoying herself very much. Does Misha tell you everything? Almost everything. I guess you're going to tell me that I'm wrong about that, aren't you? Yes and no. I'm the one who told Misha that before anyone else, but she took it too far and changed the meaning. It's not easy, but she acts like that makes it impossible. It's possible if you go little by little. I'm considering trying to be less competitive. I thought you enjoyed that, though. Maybe just a little. That's why I specifically used less. She leans against the fence. I have things I want to say to her, but it doesn't seem like the right time for it. Somehow it's a feeling I have. I can tell she isn't done just yet. A lot of people think I try too hard. Well, I've always thought that I try to try just enough. The sound the fence makes as she pushes against it and the delicate clink of her sleeve buttons scraping against the links are oddly soothing. So is the breeze gently picking up behind me. I can hear people below us. Shizune's eyes dart below us as well, and I wonder if she thinks about what she might be missing out on. The attention-grabbing way she tends to snap her fingers proves she has an understanding of how people perceive sound. It must be odd being able to understand that much, but unable to experience it yourself. She starts walking slowly around the perimeter of the roof, still scraping her buttons against the fence. It isn't rhythmic at all, though not for lack of trying. I sort of zone out in thought when she does, and I'm rudely snapped out of it when she circles around completely and taps me on the shoulder. Do you remember what we were talking about? When? Now? Of course, it just happened. It's been almost 10 minutes. When I first saw you, you seemed like you were very attached to the idea of feeling sorry for yourself. That stings, even if it is true. Sorry. It made me want to cheer you up at first sight. I was scared it would be for nothing, though. I couldn't help thinking it would be hard to change your mind. But you did. I thought that was very surprising, and also that you might be kind of easily influenced. Still, I was surprised. It made me reconsider a lot of things, like that maybe everything was worth it in the end. Everything? That's why I like you. I see. It's nice to finally know. Not gonna lie, yeah, it actually is really nice to be able to really definitively hear that. And remember, you have to take the job seriously. Too many people think you can just slack off, and that isn't important. That is a dangerous way of thinking. And that it isn't important. God, definitely. You can't take it too seriously. If you aren't always thinking big, thinking positive, and if you show any signs of weakness, people will start to think you're incompetent, you know? And soon, you won't be able to do anything because your power is going to be delegated off to others piece by piece, and you'll be left with nothing. That's what happened last time. So, remember, it may seem like an easy job, but a lot of carnage can happen in this room. And, out of it, dealing with school staff too. Even trying to get a budget report from a class rep can be a fight to the death sometimes. Yeah, it's kill or be killed. There are no friends in the pits, and you take no prisoners. Are you sure about this? Is this right? You don't seem excited, though. I have to make sure it's getting through properly. Once more, with feeling. Shizune twists her hands like a maestro for emphasis, visibly intimidating the two girls standing at attention in front of us. I think this all started because one of them asked if she wasn't taking her job too seriously. Do you understand? Do you understand? Pretend I'm shouting it. Okay, yeah. The student council is so weird. Yes, sir. Sir, who are you guys talking to anyway? It's not weird. You have to think of it as a job. If you want it, think of it like they are paying you with the right to use this great office. You want another lecture? No. You can go now. Just like that, the hour-long student council orientation is over. Personally, I thought it was about 50 minutes too long, and also found it funny that it incorporated a tour of our school that we had all been going to for a while, but I guess it didn't hurt. I expected Shizune to fall back into her chair since she'd been on edge all day, but she doesn't. She continues pacing the room restlessly. Still have a long way to go. Right now, they're a joke. What? They think they can be the new student council? They're so unfocused. And neither of them even have a unique hairstyle or color of hair. I mean, come on now. This is our best year yet. I don't think they have what it takes to be our follow-up act. And I know there are more of them there than those two girls. Where are they? They're like the heavily marketed but mediocre big-budget critically panned sequel to the acclaimed low-budget sleeper hit. Eventually, she does stop and sit down. Are you gonna miss it? Obviously. I'd be happier if I didn't have to leave too. I like being in the student council, even if it can be tiring too. Yeah, it's definitely tiring. Only because Shi-chan is always trying to do more than she has to. You're forgetting that if I did the bare minimum, we wouldn't do anything all year except hand out flyers, collect surveys, and plan the next student council election, so the next student council could sit around for a year of doing nothing. Asking me to let that happen? Don't be ridiculous. In a student council like this, there wouldn't be any power to play around with. I'm just happy that even though I clearly need to ride them harder, those two aren't bad. Not there yet, but the new student council should be in good hands. How can you tell? After the festival, they asked me if we could go also organize a Halloween event, like a haunted house or something along those lines. They have a bunch of other ideas as well. Of course, my response was no. I had Misha tell them to do it themselves if they wanted it so badly. They were angry for some reason. Of course they'd be angry if you said that. And Misha delivering the message probably didn't help. I was angry too. All of a sudden they wanted so much. If they wanted a haunted house or a traditional style cafe or a trip to the beach or whatever cliche thing, why didn't they try to organize it before? It was like they were taking advantage of me. I worked hard to organize those festivals, and in return they came to me with, "That was nice, but can you do this now? How about doing this? It's what I really want." Shi-chan was wrong though. Right, they wanted to join student council so they could make it happen. I made them feel jealous and riled them up. That could be a kind of motivation too. The desire to do something great spreads, even if it is to show me up. They decided to take me up on the challenge nonetheless. I'm impressed. Well, for now. I would have to see how it plays out a little longer in order to know for sure. She snaps her fingers suddenly, which sends Misha almost bolting out of her seat. Interestingly, I guess it's impossible to get used to. That's right. We were going to have a party to celebrate passing the reins to the new student council, weren't we? Why not have that now? Or at least plan it now and have it tomorrow. But they're not even in charge yet. In fact, that's the first thing you told them. You're not in charge yet. It seems a bit premature. Misha, what do you think? I agree, it's too early. Plus, I don't think I can go anyway. Sorry, in fact, I was gonna leave right now. Why not? No comment. Come on, tell me. Well, okay. Way to not crack under pressure, Misha. I thought about it, and even if I didn't want to go, I would say yes, usually. It's the kind of person I am. I really should stop doing that, and this is a good place to start, I think. If it's a celebration to say goodbye, I don't want it. It'd be too sad. I want to do something else instead. And after all, Hee-chan, you, and Shi-chan will still be here tomorrow. It doesn't seem right. Besides, I have other school things I have to do today. I can't drop them just like that. We can postpone it. No early goodbyes. She looks very firm as she says this. Aren't you going to go now, though? Oh, that's right. Okay, besides now, no too early goodbyes, okay? I get it. Okay, later. With that, it's just Shizune and me left alone in the student council room. Sunset slowly changes to night as we sit in silence, both searching for something to say. Would it really be that bad? Yeah, I didn't think about it like that, but Misha's right. Party set a mood, and it would be a sad one. A sad party doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. Why would it be sad? Is it a trick question? I'm sure of it. Shizune's eyes pierce into mine, waiting for my answer with a detached, analytical stare that I haven't seen in a while, but feel familiar anyway. I consider my answer carefully, but also what it means for her to ask me. It could be that Shizune finds it depressing as well, or it could be that she doesn't understand why anyone would find it depressing. Both are equally plausible. I had a thought that when you graduate, that's it. It's gonna be end of the student council. I was wondering if you had the same idea. Don't be stupid. I look forward to it. I won't be a student anymore, so the expectations are gonna be completely different. People's expectations of me and my expectations about everyone else. Seems exciting. As for the student council, it should be in good hands. I don't have anything to be sad about. I don't think you're being honest. You looked upset about having to give the student council up not even a few weeks ago. It wasn't about leaving it to a bunch of newbies either. It was having to stop doing student council work at all. Unexpectedly, Shizune smiles. So you're not disagreeing. Then it doesn't make sense. Why would you want to have a party about it? I'm trying to get over it. Besides, goodbye celebrations are very important. People say the first step is the most crucial, but following it through and finishing cleanly is just as important, right? I guess that is true. Anyway, I don't consider it goodbye, but it's still an event. You still have to go through their proper motions. Aren't you going to? Aren't I going to what? Kiss me, of course. Is that the proper motions? It would be normal, wouldn't it? That's the natural thing to do. It's time to act decisively. If I don't, I'm sure my heart will explode. I kiss her immediately, so quickly that I don't even have time to enjoy it. Even though she was prepared for it, Shizune blushes a deep red. I feel a similar heat rising in my neck and cheeks. Okay. Going to get my coin back. I move in for another kiss, but as soon as I do, she moves backwards at the same time and impishly jumps onto the cabinet behind her. Alone in the total silence of the room, we just look at each other for a while. This time I kiss her more deeply. Her lips are... Oh, I'm not good at reading this sort of stuff, guys. I'm just not. Lips are light and dry and open a tiny bit. I'm only able to appreciate the sensation for a moment before Shizune starts kissing me back forcefully. Her bangs push back against my closed eyelids as I let myself sink deeper into the kiss. I can feel the shape of her body through her clothes, which only makes me hold Shizune tighter. I do have that thing still checkmarked, right? It takes some effort for the both of us to draw back from each other. We're both blushing, both from the kiss and the thoughts of what's to come, and I'm far from the only one breathing a little heavier. Why am I not even remotely surprised that a scene like this would take place in the student council room? I should have seen this coming in retrospect. As Shizune begins to take off my tie, I start undoing her blouse. It takes a while to figure it out. I never really thought about how our school's blouses work before. Shizune's blouse is a little tight on her, but her arms get stuck for a moment because of it. I find myself peeling it off of her like a banana. Although, with the way she's trying to wriggle out of it at the same time, it isn't easy. The sight's a little comical. Okay. When Shizune's arms are free, she slides out of her shirt, her skirt falling around her knees with it after she unhinges it and works it off her legs. The only thing covering her now are her panties. God, Lord, you're making me read even more than I normally have to read this sort of thing, game. Come on. Shouldn't this be cutting to something by now? Figures can... Just let it glaze over and just say the words. They're just words. They're just words. Her figure is curvaceous and taut, and the healthy color of her skin contrasts with the black of her underwear. It's a wonderful sight, especially against the background of the moonlight through the window. She looks at my chest and works the buttons off my shirt one by one. The process is greatly slowed by my hands moving up and down her thighs. It's a little amusing to play with her like this. Eventually, finally my shirt falls to the ground. Shizune surprises me by quickly pulling me in for a deep kiss without warning, but I quickly return the gesture. Why are you bolder today than on the roof? Or in your room? I try to think of a good answer, but it isn't easy. How would I be able to respond to that even if I could? There's no way to, unless I were to say that bureaucracy really puts me in the moods. My shirt having been disposed of, Shizune moves on to my belt, and I decide to help her undo it instead of answering her question. I don't think it would do much good at this point. It's not hard to get it off and falls to the ground with a metallic clunk. I move for another kiss and begin to slide my hand up her side, but she suddenly lurches forward, making me stumble backwards. The stiff edge of the table behind me was the furthest thing from my mind until I feel it stabbing into my lower back. Haven't even noticed it was there. Makes me grab Shizune a little tighter as we both fall back onto the surface of the table. And there it is. The shrimp of intercourse is heralding in the moment once again. Thank you. Thank you for that. Shrimp on the bobby. Oi. Exhausted, I lean back against the desk and try to regain my breath before putting my clothes back on. I notice a dull, hot throbbing in my chest as I button my shirt back up. It puts a bad aftertaste in everything that just happened. I shouldn't have been caught off guard by that, and yet I am. Wow. Okay. It was a lucky break that Misha couldn't be here, wasn't it? You're in an unusually joking mood today. I wonder what she had to do. Shizune traces the air lazily with a finger and points to the door. Go see for yourself. Why don't you just tell me? It's more interesting if you see for yourself. Seeing is believing. Sure, clever. Maybe I will. What about you? Are you going to stay here all day? It's getting late. Feels like my last day as student council president, so maybe I'll sleep here tonight. Could be the last chance I have to sleep at my desk, like after a long day trying to meet a deadline. Are you going to put your clothes back on in any conceivable way? That's weird. I'll sleep in my bed. Sleeping sitting up is a skill, a very useful one. Right. For a moment after I leave the room, I actually do consider seeing what Misha is up to, just because Shizune made it sound so secretive, as if she were building a time machine or something, but in the end I decide not to. The night air is pleasant at the time of year. It's refreshing and a little humid, but not so chilly as to make it uncomfortable to stay outside for a while. It's late enough for the courtyard to be all but deserted, too. After Shizune and I said our farewells to each other, I'd set out to return to my dormitory room. I didn't even make it all the way there, though, before getting distracted. It didn't seem like a bad idea to go see what Misha is up to. I have nothing better to do. No homework. I'm out of anything worth reading. On top of that, I simply want to know. This isn't my first time being in the main building after hours, but usually it's as I'm leaving the place with Shizune and Misha after a long day at the student council, not entering it alone. The atmosphere is quiet, a word I would not normally use to describe these halls. It's a little creepy. A light starts flicking up ahead. Seems like a horror movie moment waiting to happen. Considering the actions that we just recently had, yeah, it's a primo horror movie situation. Feeling a hand on my shoulder, I stiffen reflexively. It's not Misha, or else there would be hands clamped over my eyes and a sing-song Guess Who accompanying them. So who is it? Hope it's not Kenji, or at least that it's someone I know, or this will take a turn for the weird. It's her, and she has her clothes on. Whoever it is quickly slips in front of me. It's Shizune. What are you doing here? I'm so relieved that I forgot to sign it. Shizune puts a finger up to her lips. I guess even though she can't hear me, she has some idea of what loudness is, and can tell from my expression that I was being loud, and apparently being loud isn't a good thing right now. But then why is Misha her interpreter? Oh, very funny. Why are you here? I was waiting for you to come see. I knew you'd show up. It took you a while, though. You've been waiting here? Yeah, but that isn't important. We have to be stealthy if you don't want Misha to detect us. Tell me if I'm not being stealthy enough, okay? It would be hard to be stealthy when you don't know if you're making noise or not. With that, Shizune starts slowly tiptoeing through the middle of the hall. I pat her on the shoulder to get her attention. That's not stealthy. Why do we have to be stealthy? She refuses to answer, probably because signing and walking stealthily at the same time doesn't look easy. Before I know it, we're in front of her homeroom. Suddenly, a sound like the crack of a whip pierces the air, following by a familiar expression of frustration. I'm sure a sound like that isn't good for my heart, not to mention everything sounds about 1,000,000 times louder with how silent it is. It's coming from inside the room, and I sidle up to Shizune to get a close inside. Can you stop throwing your pencil, please? How do you even throw a pencil that loudly? He looks very flustered. What an understatement. I sympathize with Muto. I was able to hear Misha's pen break the sound barrier even through a wall in a thick classroom door. She probably blew out his eardrums and left an imprint on the wall. I'm not throwing it. When I get nervous, I like to spin it around, but then I forget I'm holding on to it, and it doesn't matter. Either way, there shouldn't be pencils flying around. I get enough of that during regular school hours. I don't need it after hours. Right, sorry. Whatever. Just stop throwing or releasing or dropping things, please. Teachers have work too. I notice Shizune watching the same scene I am. Muto is yelling at the top of his lungs, and Misha is being Misha. I can hear them reasonably well through the door, but Shizune obviously can't hear anything at all, so I wonder what watching this is like for her. She must know since she understands well enough to want me to see it too, but I have to wonder if she even feels like she's missing out on something. having to work that much harder to understand what she's observing. Looks like she's taking supplementary lessons. Is she? Yeah. I answer despite knowing the question is completely rhetorical. Misha told me she really wants to be a sign language teacher in the future. If she can get a recommendation, she can study overseas for it. That's why she's working so hard. Her grades were always kind of on the low side. Well, now I feel guilty. I haven't even thought about what I'm going to do yet. Neither have I! The cheerful way that she signs it is very unlike her and is very obviously false. Let's get out of here. We don't want to be seen. It'd be a problem if we were caught standing out here like idiots. Where? The student council room? Shaking her head, she slips into the classroom across the hall instead. Great hiding place. You're unusually sarcastic lately. With the door closed, it's a good one. Anyway, wasn't it interesting? Yeah, but I'm not really surprised. I close the door behind us, prompting Shizune to laugh soundlessly as she slides into a chair. For a second, it depresses me. I want to hear her real laugh. I've been looking down on Misha. I didn't think she had a goal at all, but it turns out that I was wrong. I made a careless assumption. I thought Misha was as aimless as I was. I was stupid. I lost. Shizune pauses to crack her knuckles, then folding her hand over each other and leans forward in her chair. In the abnormal quiet of the building, I can hear Muto yelling at Misha again, even across the hallway and through the doors. Shizune's eyes are locked on mine, unblinking behind the gleaming lenses of her glasses, observing my reaction to her words. This is a test. Her opinion of people is rarely formed from how they respond to questions. It's how they respond to statements that counts. In hindsight, it makes sense. Shizune's ability to speak, as well as just her personality in general, means that anything she says is a big commitment on her part. Everything. For that reason, I sometimes doubt she says anything without a hidden agenda behind it. That sounds remarkably paranoid. Even Kenji would think so. Unfortunately, I'm so caught up thinking about it that I half forget to give her an answer. She takes it as there not being one. There was an invisible time limit to this test, shorter than usual. Just as I thought. What do you mean? You don't agree? Not really, it's not that. I don't get it. I want to force my will on people. How refreshingly honest. Don't give me a weird look like that. It's not like that was always my intention. At first I was just bored. I wanted to see someone's passion for something. Then I could try and beat them. I wanted to test their ability on their convictions. But it was impossible. No one has any passion for anything in this school. They just want to keep to themselves. I can't believe it. It's too boring that way. I thought there was no way these drab people could be for real. It goes beyond not wanting to make waves. They had to have some interests. They had to be hiding something. I wanted to expose it and reveal it and drag it out. One of the most successful ways to get people to open up to you and cheer them up is to open up with a story about yourself. And then you ease into telling them about themselves. It's like give and take, but with an element of manipulation, which makes it interesting. I can't do that. If I attempt to have Misha talk about me for me, it makes me seem arrogant. The message has to go through a messenger. I'm standing next to Misha, telling her to tell someone about me. You don't have to be able to read sign language to see that. If I were forced to sit through that, I would think I was arrogant too. I was frustrated. I couldn't figure out a way to have a conversation with anyone but Misha. No one would open up to me. I came to the conclusion that I can make people confide in me or believe in me. I can only hope to create things and show them to people and hope they make them happy. Or I could be more forceful and hope it would eventually stick to someone. I guess that would be me. Feels vaguely depressing. Somewhere along the line, I think I started to ignore Misha, or see her as less of a person, or something like that. I took her for granted, I think would be the best way to put it. It was like she was just an extension of myself. I forgot that the whole time Misha was there, opening up to me and giving 100% every day. I missed what I was looking for, because it was in plain sight. How stupid of me. I really did become arrogant. That's why I've lost. I'm more short-sighted than I was back then. I went in reverse. She's pacing back and forward now, almost brooding, yet still filled with so much energy that you can't stand to stop moving. If you got her to hold 2 wires, I'm sure Shizune could power a light bulb. It's odd that I could have such a lighthearted thought while she's being so serious. And in spite of that, Misha tells me that I'm her inspiration. Isn't that ridiculous? I'm not the kind of person who can inspire others. Even if a person who inspires you is flawed, it can be acceptable. I've thought about this. There's even an acceptable hypocrisy. For instance, if your hero was an athlete but unsportsmanlike, they could still be respected for their athletic ability, even if they had shortcomings as a person. However, she snaps her fingers briskly. It sounds like a thunderclap in the empty classroom, and Shizune takes a few seconds to stretch her fingers. Come to think of it, this is the most she has ever signed. If someone like me has no goals, it would be totally unacceptable. It'd be the worst kind of hypocrisy, and hypocrites don't deserve responsibility over anything. They can't even manage themselves. How incredibly pessimistic. Makes me angry to think about it. I would hate myself just a few months ago. That must be how I look to others. And funny enough, it was Shizune and Misha who convinced me to stop. Without them, I'm sure things would be much different, and not for the better. Lately, I feel as though we pass around our miseries as much as we're supported by each other, but I think it just comes with the territory of having friends and being close to someone. You're the leader anyway. That's only because no one else wants to be. But that means you still are. Since people are putting their trust in you anyway, in fact, doesn't that make it more important? Either way, you are the leader. You are the inspirational figure, or whatever you want to call it. You're responsible for what you tame. I read that in a book somewhere. That's clever. Shizune only seems to show what she's feeling on her face when she wants to, but I don't think she's being sarcastic. I don't want to tame anyone, though. Being the leader and being looked up to, then, same thing. I never wanted to be the leader, it just ended up that way. I don't believe that. All you do is try to grab more and more responsibility. Wait, I wasn't going to tell you that I don't enjoy it. I don't care about being the leader, but I don't mind. I don't care about being the best, but I don't mind. You're right, though, about me wanting responsibility. Of course, I want more responsibility. Having responsibility makes me feel alive. That's why I joined the student council. There's no pressure, I just can't stand it. Even so, now I'm the leader. I always thought being the leader meant you give orders, but it really is more. It's about having a goal. If I don't have a goal, then it's pointless. People would only be following me for my own enjoyment. It would be selfish. It's a strangely moral viewpoint for a person who seems to love one-upping others so much. Resting her chin on her tented finger, Shizune looks disarmingly childish, as she thinks hard about her problem. The expression on her face is a little comical because it's too obvious, and therefore very unlike her. It comes with a job. I think you'd have to be a leader. You wouldn't be satisfied with anything else. You'd just get bored. Shizune doesn't reply, but from her annoyed expression, I think I've guessed correctly. I've been thinking that I need a little direction, too. Were you told that it's important to contribute to society? What an unusual response. It's so out of nowhere that I don't know how to respond. It also bothers me, though I don't know why. Possibly because it doesn't seem like something that would come from her. So I start to think that it isn't Shizune's thought at all. I wonder who told her that. It was probably your dad, but there's a chance that she came up with it on her own. If so, would it be because she can't hear? Why do you say that? Just because. Well, I don't believe it. I guess that's right, though. I see. I don't know if it's the same for me. I hate it. I think everyone wants a purpose. Looking back, it makes sense that Shizune doesn't have one. All that energy would otherwise have been directed at something. Since she had nothing to channel it toward, Shizune lashed out in all directions. It reminds me of a downed power line flailing in a storm, furious and incandescent, but aimless and dangerous, just like Shizune. I want to say that this is why she feels the need to turn everything into a competition, but that's probably just how she is. Having a goal to put that energy towards is just the next level. How about this? I could go into business. My family is well connected, so it shouldn't be too hard. That comes off as sounding a little unethical and nepotistic, doesn't it? A little. I won't coast though. I'll work hard until I'm at the very apex. When I have as much money as possible, so much that it'll be like I won't know what to do with it, I'll move on to the next step. After sitting on it for a while, of course, like a fairy tale dragon. You want to be? A philanthropist! Tisk tisk. What were you thinking? That I want to be a miser? Well, it's true. It's part of the plan. Don't sell me short to stop there, though. Shizune still looks uneasy. Of course, even if she did seem to resolve her problem quickly, no one can get over their anxieties that fast. No one can solve their problems that easily. The important thing is, it looks as though she has her heart set on trying. It's still hard to tell whether that drive of hers comes from a good place or a bad place. But she has something to hold on to now. I can genuinely believe that she does. I'm happy for her, and at the same time I feel a little cold. I'm the one who's behind. Now I'm the only one without a goal. Definitely a lot to think about. There haven't been any further disruptions since that week. Of course, that's what I thought the week before that, and Shizune and Misha's sudden newfound clarity had left me feeling a little lost and envious. I thought there was no way I could rest easy at the time. But fortunately, nothing came of my worries. Then, before I knew it, there was enough to deal with in school that I even managed to put them off my mind, and still everything was fine. I was wrong. I'd seen Shizune and Misha carefully hidden vulnerabilities, but they were still strong. Now we're going to be graduating soon. I've grown so comfortable here that it's kind of crept up on me. When it did, I felt sad and didn't want to think about it, so I didn't. Not until recently. This story takes place over the longest period of time so far. My goodness. About a week ago, I started making a list of people I thought I should say goodbye to before graduation. The first rule I laid out for myself was that I would try not to write them down in any kind of special order, like least important to most important. Somehow it ended up like that anyway, and even though it also ended up being a shorter list than I expected it to be, Kenji is somewhere in the middle. They said I would have to graduate eventually. Well, I showed them. I've lived here rent-free for more than long enough. If you take into account the rising cost of land, I think you could say I've won in the end. No, you know what? I did win. History will acknowledge me as the victor. The victor of what? I managed to stay out of sight and slip through the cracks. I beat the system. To put it that way, it sounds like you just ran away from the system. Sometimes, running is the greatest form of victory, like in the Olympics. I'm too tired to argue with him. Who's he kidding? Everyone knows the shot put is the best Olympic event in any case. So what you're basically saying is you won't miss it? Miss what? School, dummy. No, I told you, this place is too filled with it's beyond saving, but at least I'll be able to get out before it reaches critical mass. I'll only come back years later when they build a statue to honor me. Do they do that 10 years later reunion thing here? How would I know that? Probably. Anyway, I have to start packing now. Take care of yourself, man. You should have packed a week ago like I did. Not that I had much to pack. That's not how it goes. You're supposed to do everything at the last minute. Men are better at doing everything at the last minute. The last minute can have more productivity than, like, the entire week before it. It's how we keep stuff fair. You'll never understand our manly ways. You take care of yourself, too. With a salute, he shoots backwards through the door, slamming it shut behind him, hard enough that the entire dorm probably heard it. I noticed that a lot of people slam doors here. Maybe it's a local thing. Take care of myself. It's the first time I've heard him say it. Usually he ends our conversations with something like, "See ya, I'll pay you back later, man." Well, he was a little annoying sometimes, but I'll miss him. I cross him off my list mentally. The list is very short now, and once I again discard the notion of going through it in any kind of order, like I said, I never had that intention. So I go out to look for Shizune and Misha. I can only think of one place they could be, the student council room, of course. Turning the corner, I almost bump into a small group of students. For a second, a bitter feeling flashes through me, since for all I know, this could have been fatal. It's this new student council. There aren't a lot of them, but a lot more than 3, which is good, since it means there's enough of them that they can each have their own title. It would have been cool if I could add a little desk plaque with my name and title on it. I don't think they do that now, or ever did, unfortunately. The new student council surrounds me while I'm thinking. If anyone were looking at this from afar, it would be a pretty sinister sight. Maybe they've come to finally get back on me for calling them the new student council all those times. I was just translating for Shizune, but I guess I should have been less lazy and more tactful. I regret nothing. I find myself being thanked for everything I've done. I'm being thanked. This should make me happy, considering how often I would think to myself that being in the student council was a completely thankless job. It does make me happy, but I can't enjoy it fully. I wonder how things would have turned out if our student council had grown as large as the one that they've set to replace us. Even though they've got 2 or 3 other members, it's enough that they have set roles, not like us, where Shizune seemed to be president, but that was it. The new council thinking me gives me a strange feeling. It's like coming back home and seeing that a tree you nurtured years before has grown, but I feel like I didn't nurture the tree enough. What more I could have done? It would likely make Shizune furious that I would feel distant from what I did in the student council this way, or that I'd imply I didn't do enough. But it's true, I was only following her. So in a way, I also feel like I'm viewing the same tree from far away, as if I'm seeing it from the window of a train as it passes by. Getting mad poetic up in here today. I indulge in these thoughts for too long. When I snap out of it, I realize that I'm still standing there, surrounded by the new student council. I do the only thing I can do and apologize for zoning out. Then, I thank them back. When they walk away, I enter the student council room, which looks a lot messier, but seems to have gained a computer. It makes sense. I recall hearing one of the clipboard girls talking about her plans to use a computer to make all the boring data entry Shizune does more tolerable. Quite frankly, it's weird we didn't have one of those. I can't remember which one said it, though. Aoi seems to be the most ambitious one, but then again, Kaiko, appears more serious. Well, it doesn't matter now. I'm not alone in the room, but instead of finding Shizune here like I expected, it's just Misha. She's sitting on Shizune's desk like Shizune herself often does, swinging her legs back and forth. When her eyes meet, she hops off and inexplicably poses like a superhero. Hi, Hichan. I'm surprised to see you here. What are you doing? You first. Well, I was looking for Shizune. Me too. I thought you would be here, but I got Hichan instead. Gee, thanks. Well, this is really good. Really. I want to talk to you anyway. About what? I take the time to glance around the room a little more. I see a hot plate. They are really living high. I wanted to say sorry, of course, for all the trouble I made for you and Shichan. Don't call it trouble. Right. Don't apologize to Shizune. Right. But that isn't why I'm here, Hichan. I wouldn't apologize to Shichan. Since you're here, I want to ask you a question. Hichan, what do you think it would take for Shichan to be happy? World domination, obviously. Yeah, even though you're only joking, Hichan. No, even if she could, it wouldn't make Shichan happy. Only for a little while. Hichan, have you ever heard of artists who tear up their paintings as soon as they finish them? Such people really exist in the world, you know. I remembered it all of a sudden. It's just like Shichan now that I think about it. Whenever Shichan sets up a challenge for herself and completes it, she acts like her skills have no meaning anymore. I wonder, is it because she can't create anything permanent? It's just like those artists and how they want to celebrate a piece of art to leave behind. A really great one, but can't do it. It's really obvious when I look back at it, but I didn't see it before. Now I'm scared. I wonder if Shichan will ever be happy. No, I don't think so. Not about her ever being happy. I think you're wrong. Shizune is actually happy more often than I thought. I think it's actually kind of amazing. Usually people don't think about that kind of stuff until they're middle-aged or dying. Then they think, I want to leave something behind, or I want to be remembered. Like me. I skipped ahead a little. My life was short and seemed even shorter after my heart attack. I didn't think about what I was leaving behind because I very quickly thought there was almost nothing I was leaving behind. So all that was left for me was for me to stew in my own bitterness. Shizune already wanted to leave her mark somewhere, but she wants to do it by helping people. That's why celebrations are so important to her. She even wants to be a philanthropist. And I think it's the best way to live, living on by what you can give to others, even if it's just for a selfish reason. That's okay too. Shizune is already happy because if something goes well, there will always be someone else to see it and remember it. That's what makes her happy. Misha sighs, arms stiff at her sides, hands tapping the air softly. Before, I still thought, I might be able to make Shizune happy, and I was in a good place to do it before. Since I was interpreter, I could always be with her. Maybe. And I thought I would do it by becoming like Shichan's shadow. I kept trying even when she rejected me. It felt like I was stuck and I couldn't do anything but watch Shichan's back getting smaller while she kept going. I was scared, even though I should have just accepted it. It's hard. Maybe I could have at least understood Shichan. But it looks like I was completely wrong after all. I didn't even know that, or think about it. Shichan would call it a complete loss. Okay, I'm done. That's it, Hichan. But since you're the one who knows Shichan best of all, you can't make her cry, or I'll be angry. I'm gonna go overseas after this. I even have letters of recommendation, or I don't think I'd be able to normally. Maybe I'll study and become a sign language teacher over there. Who knows? That means you have to look after Shichan, okay? Misha smiles as honest as ever, but she's obviously changed. The look in her eyes is that of a much more attentive girl. It seems true that hardship builds wisdom. It reminds me of the look in Shizune's eyes. I wonder what Shizune might have been through to have become who she is. I can take a guess, or maybe she was always like that. I want to see her even more, and suggest to Misha that we both go look for her together. Of course, it was just a pretext to spend more time with a friend. It's strange how it hasn't been long since we last hung out together, the three of us, in the span of a routine student council day, and it seems like it was long ago. Thinking about the future can put that kind of lens over the past. Speaking of lenses. Outside, Yuko is standing around, fiddling with a tiny modern-looking camera in her hands. It would be unnoticeable if it weren't metallic enough to reflect the sunlight. Misha calls out to her. I thought we were supposed to be looking for Shizune. Hi! What are you doing? I'm just taking photos of everyone. That's obvious. Awkward, Misha. I'll never forget how you taught me that someone can hold so many secrets and still have a massive lack of tact. Where's my photo? You want a copy? I don't know. Well, only if you promise to keep it a secret, or everyone else will want one too. That happened to me in elementary school, only it was with candy. Okay, I'll take a photo of you now then. Wait, I'm not ready. I was just kidding. Hichan, make a peace sign. I'm not gonna do that. The camera flashes goes off, blinding me. Yuko shields herself behind it, letting out a moan of frustration. You're not supposed to turn the flash on outdoors. She starts apologizing unnecessarily and then quietly slips away. Wait. Yes? Did you see Shichan around here? Yes, in front of the gate. Thanks. I can barely get out before I have to start following behind Misha. Fortunately, not for very long. The gate is barely a minute's walk from here, even though even that can be tiring for me sometimes. We see Shizune with the student council. They're probably thanking her too. As soon as she sees us, she shoos them away, which is very easy since I doubt any of them can understand sign language or use it, so they're not too sad about leaving. Which in turn makes me wonder why they would thank her without someone who can, but it's the thought that counts. Misha immediately hugs Shizune and then leans against the gate next to her. I, on the other hand, decide to hang back a little and let them talk. After all, Misha had wanted to talk to Shizune this whole time. I can wait. I even turn away so I don't eavesdrop on their conversation. I end up losing track of time. When I look at my watch, it's already been 10 minutes. I wonder if they're done and turn around to find them behind me. What are you thinking about? Boring philosophical things that I don't want to talk about. Don't worry, I'm not thinking about it too hard. Good! Getting philosophical at a time like this would be the worst thing you could do. Yeah, I just want to stand here for a bit. It's relaxing. Haha, it was a busy week. Not really, not for me. I know that they must have been busy, but I think I know what I want to do now. And when it hit me, I didn't feel particularly fired up or anxious. It's the opposite. I feel at peace for the first time in a long time, and I want to savor that feeling a little more. I think that I want to teach here. As soon as I thought this, a long-winded winding road appeared in my mind. An uncertain road that leads back here. I wonder if I'll be able to meet someone in the future like me, someone filled with bitterness. I want to talk to that person since I can't talk to myself. I want to tell them that life is too short, something that couldn't be told to me, only shown. I want to do it without pity. If I'd been pitied, I'm sure that I'd have only died a little more. When I think about that first week, I still think about how well it went. So well that it could be called the result of kindness. I feel like I want to show others that same kindness. Also, I really want to keep chasing Shizune. What do the new student council want, Shi-chan? It's hard to daydream when you have to deal with Misha's voice. I didn't know they had someone who knew sign language. They don't. I think it was most likely just a goodbye, so I appreciate it even though I couldn't tell them. How did you know I was here? Is it supposed to be a secret? Anyway, we just asked Yuko. Did she take a photo of you too? Yes, without asking me first. Since Yuko doing anything spur of the moment is rare though, I'll let it go. She snaps her finger, more because I think she likes it than out of realization of an idea. We should take a photo of the three of us. We haven't taken a student council photo yet. Now's the perfect chance. But if I have to look at the picture a year from now, I don't want us staring back at me. What does that mean, Shi-chan? Pictures are supposed to capture the moment, isn't that right? Without a doubt, they're not portraits. They're just standing around would be so stiff. It wouldn't even capture how I feel. I feel like we'll meet again, so this isn't an occasion to take such a serious photo. It should be a see you later type of photo. Not a big deal. It should be something more festive. Oh boy. Like this. Follow me. Shizune poses like a musketeer so quickly that I'm sure even she knows it's silly. Do we really have to do such a cheesy pose? I can think of no better pose. Misha, you go find Yuko. I don't like this pose either, but I think it's kind of nice. That doesn't even make sense. She's already gone and returns dragging Yuko behind her. The flash is off. A red LED blinks 3 times above it after Yuko presses the button. Shizune glances at both of us to make sure we have the timing down. Synchronization watches. We jump! That is adorable and silly looking. I bet that turned out excellently. Okay. Now, let's get one with Yuko too. No, please. That's not necessary. I want a copy of this too. I'll likely die younger than the average person. My life expectancy could unexpectedly burn out at any time. I don't have any time to waste then. I want to live as much as possible. I also want to see other people smile from what I've made and done. Living vicariously through the happiness of others doesn't seem so bad. Feeling joy through another person's happiness doesn't seem like such a bad thing. It's the easiest way I can think of to draw out of my own life and give it distinction. Maybe this is the meaning that Shizune has found for herself, although it's just my theory. People find themselves alone in their lives and without direction. However, people can take refuge in moments of happiness. They can dot a person's life like stops on a train map, or waypoints of memory on a long trail. These individual moments on reflection can give a person's life fulfillment. Every friend and festival and joyful meeting and joyful parting. I want to be able to ask Shizune one day if I'm right. I want to spend the time I have with her. Finally, I want to make Shizune smile for herself. Aw, I love you. I pause, wondering if she'll look at me confused and ask why I'd say it out of the blue. She doesn't. Do they have that reunion thing here? Of course they do. A student council member should know that. Sooner than that, though, okay? Both of you. Oh, right. Yeah. Yuko, you do the pose, too. Afterwards, we can go for tea. Shizune laughs as if she doesn't have a care in the world. Misha's laughter joining with hers as easily as it were her own. We'll meet again. Well, I mean, I imagine you would be meeting with Shizune a lot, considering I'm pretty sure you're supposed to be in a relationship here. Huh. I feel like they were trying to go with an entirely different idea and way of going about it in this particular story. I feel like Emi and Hanako's stories had their own very direct, like, idea. Like, and this one just kind of wanted to do its own thing. And I can kind of respect the way that it did that. It had its own unique story and message that it wanted to send across, different than the ones you would get from, I think, the other characters. Granted, that being said, we still do have 2 more characters to go through. And I was specifically saving these 2 for last because they're the ones I'm pretty much unquestionably the most interested in seeing how they go. That's basically how I sort of ranked and filed all of these various stories. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed that interesting little story of Shizune. I'll see you next time for 1 more. Well, 2 more, but, you know, the next one. See you then.